and then of course the video game. Parts of this has to do with the same parts that are revealed in, I say the video game. What I really mean is the one that came out most recently, which is the...
Witcher 3.
Before the woke feminists went and ruined Ciri by giving her wrinkles around her eyes. Why are they trying to trans our kids? F***ing pronouns. Sorry, I will never not make fun of the pronouns.
The Cockney accent kills me.
Oh my god. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast, Unresolved Textual Tension. It's me, your host, Valerie, and with me today is some guy I found on the internet, Will, and Katie, as I usually introduce you.
Yeah, well, Val and I found him on the, Craigslist ads for seeking an arrangement. And so this is the arrangement we sought out. So welcome, William. Thank you for joining our podcast.
Here's actually what happened. I put out an ad for my podcast that said, quirky white girl, must be pretty.
I knew it was going to come.
Must be pretty, semicolon, bisexual. And these two showed up looking exactly the same, so I couldn't make a decision. So I was like, okay, I'll hire both of them. And that's how we're here today. Okay, hey guys, welcome to the podcast. The book we're doing today is the third of the Witcher books. It's Blood of Elves. It's the first real novel one. And that leads to an interesting format I found for how the plot works, which none of us have really talked about it too much. So we'll see what everybody's impressions are. Our first video on The Witcher didn't do well. Our second one did worse, and this one will do even worse. And I don't even have a unicorn for the thumbnail this time to alert people.
But we're getting it out of the love in our hearts.
Love of the game.
It's just like education, like no one's going to thank you for it, but you still got to trudge through it. So here we are.
Trudge through it. How dare you?
Yeah. Okay. This far into the series, basically, we're not going to really explain what happened before this too much, but basically Geralt, our main character, at this point has his little tyke of a sidekick, Ciri, his pseudo daughter, and he's taken her to become a witcher, but things aren't going great, so a sorceress called Triss Merigold, who's a hot redhead, shows up to help, and she's like a complete horny mess. Like many people in these books. And that's kind of where... Oh, but also there's Nilfgaardians, which are the bad guys. Yeah, which are the Soviet bad guys from the last book, are going to come kind of encroaching from the top of the world downward.
Actually,
and also Ciri is having visions.
Incorrect.
Bam,
they come from the south.
Plot.
They come from the south. Incorrect.
Why do I think they come from... It's kind of like because they're Soviet.
I don't know what direction they come from, but they come from a place.
They come from the south. I specifically remember because Ciri's like... Oh, where's Nilfgaard? That's not how she talks at all. She actually has
she talks way more Welsh.
Yeah, Welsh. And he's like, oh, that's too far south. Like the kid that she's like bricking up. But anyway.
Okay, Katie, you give us your initial thoughts in short order.
Sure. As per usual, this was a delightful novel. I think the audiobook version is even more delightful because, damn, the reader is so good at different voices, and it makes it really fun and theatrical. And I kind of like now have like a canonized version of what Geralt's voice should sound like, which is really at the end of the day his, and not even the video game character.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I was thinking that earlier. I'm like, this is not the video game guy doesn't sound like Geralt.
No, he sounds too like stiff in some way. Like I don't even know how to describe it. But it doesn't have like the kind of rolling language that Geralt of the novels has. And so anyway, what a delight to listen to. I don't know if I would have had as much fun reading it as I did listening to it. However, that being said, that's exclusively because about 3/4 through the novel, the fun starts to die down for a while because there's quite a number of fun, exciting, well-written parts. And then it goes into politics for like 4 or 5 hardcore chapters where I'm just like, okay, this is interesting, but at this point, the way you're delivering this feels like pure exposition, and it becomes incredibly stagnated in comparison to the rest of the chapter's vitality. And then once it resumes itself with Ciri and Yennefer at the end, it again recaptures the magical quality that all the other narrative bits have. But besides that one very boring part, what a delight. So far, people have said that they think the novelizations are way worse than the short story anthology pieces, and I would disagree thus far, other than that brief moment, so that's me.
Okay, I'll just say very quickly, I want to give a shout out to Chris M. Chris is like the only one who read this with us. Shout out, you are officially part of the band. If you want to, I didn't read your final thoughts, but I'm sure if anyone's watching this, they should read her final thoughts. She's very smart. Solidarity.
Oh, no, for sure.
I didn't read it because I don't have time. I'm busy. Not because I don't respect your opinion.
I didn't read it because I never read any of them. I'm so
Val,
sorry.
ye who are very chill about these books, what did you think?
Like Chris, I have no chill about these books. I can't see them clearly. I know that like even if it has faults, I'm just gonna love it because I adore these books. They're beautifully written. I think, like Katie, you said that like there were some lulls in the middle, and I would agree with that. But also, he just writes every conversation so interestingly, and that he weaves humor into all of these little moments so that I couldn't get bored. Like I was like, my brain wanted to turn off, but I was like, oh my God, that was really funny actually. And like, Triss is just such a mess. I love seeing her as a character. Like I love her, but girlfriend, you gotta get it together. And I cried so many times during the Yennefer and Ciri parts at the end. I love it so much. It can do no wrong in my eyes.
It's interesting because this is the first time I'm reading it. And if you've watched the podcast maybe a couple of times, you may have picked up on that, me being a very critical reader. This book should not work, and yet it really worked for me. Its plot structure is so weird in terms of just like, it's not typical and it shouldn't work, but it does. And I think it goes back to what you were saying in terms of like, he's pretty funny. And then also he's really good with characters. Like you just like the characters. You like being around them. This book also has a cozy feel to it. So there's that kind of coziness to it that I think really works. I think he also writes in a way that is not overstuffed. Like there's large periods where it's just people talking back and forth, and that moves the action very quickly. Because like about halfway through this book, I was both like, wow, nothing has happened, and also, wow, I'm already halfway through. Like it doesn't take a long time to read. This is also kind of a prologue book to the next book, you can tell, but like it's not annoying in the way that some of the epic fantasy I've read is. Like this is, you still have relationships still going, you have coziness, you have, certain themes involved, even if they don't necessarily come to full fruition like they did in the previous two books. I really like parts about this book shouldn't work, and yet it really does for me. Even the politics, I just like listening to that part. I could listen to military vague politicking all day long.
What's funny is that I feel like at the core of it, the success comes from this. He is really able to fully flesh out and embody a character as separate from any other character that is currently on stage. And it would not have surprised me if, as we dig into his little biography or something like that, if he had some type of theater background. And if he doesn't, whatever, super cool. But if he did, I feel like that would make a lot of sense because of
Can you say that again?
Theater.
Yes, I know. I don't say it
theater.
wrong. Or
theater?
Whatever. The point is, though. Okay. Maria, you and Maria both stop me, but each time I do this, and I'm just like, guys, it's not going to change. I'm not going to stop doing it.
I just want to make sure that the people know that this is not how you do it. Go ahead.
Point being, though, is that I think that's where his success really comes from. It's because, that, and I guess you can really just say he's very good at picking words out for a sentence. His sentences are super fluid, so on a structural level, they just are very clean sounding. But then, maybe if I should maybe we should look at that and see if that holds up.
I mean,
in
I read
comparison
it.
to
I read it
audio.
eyeball style.
So you would say as well, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So it's just that his narrative structure is so goddamn clean in combination with his characters breathing life into themselves that you can't help but be enamored by any interaction that is to happen on screen.
And like I think like Will and I were talking, and it's just that every single character feels like someone you could meet in real life. You could just run into,
Yeah.
like, no matter how small. Even like the stupid scholar on the boat, like just like I
real
met a guy
people.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't know if I mentioned this last time because I don't remember if I looked it up before or after, but like he wrote this, the author, this was like his first book and he wrote it in his middle age after having had like a real profession. And the book to me feels like it's written by somebody who was middle aged and has lived and has
Correct.
met people. And the way he portrays it is very much like, oh, these people are kind of doing their own thing. And they kind of have that ring of being a real person about them. That's really nice. In Ciri's point of view, for example, like there's a lot of like small little things that a kid would think that ring very true, even as the overall tone of the novel comes off as a little bit not stiff per se, but put on, like it's you can tell this is in translation. Like there's a certain amount of forthrightness about the text that you in another book might feel stiff, but here it just feels like, oh, he's Polish, like, you know what I mean, like, and so there's still a lot of details in there that really work.
Okay. So where do we want to start off with then?
I mean, okay, so the way this book is formatted, it doesn't really have a traditional rising falling action bit. It's really more like 3 or 4 chunks.
You know what's funny
Yeah,
is
it's like
that
little
you know,
waves.
yeah, you guys both mentioned this before, and now that Will brings it up yet again, I'm just gonna say that, and somebody also in chat, I'm pretty sure, who was it? Was it Chris M?
There's
Yeah.
only 2 people in chat.
Yeah, right. No, there's 5 now. But Chris M said that the whole series is very atypical in its structure. And yeah, actually, you know what was funny is that as I began this novel, I thought to myself, oh, I wonder if this is going to be a different experience, because all I've ever experienced so far of the author is the anthology pieces of the mini short stories, all the little like novellas slash flash fiction pieces that, well, I don't even know if it counts as flash fiction.
I think it's
mostly,
just
like,
short stories.
yeah, whatever. So whatever genre you put in it, it's definitely not novel though. Like long-term plot with all the little accoutrements that go with it. And it felt the same way. It felt the same exact way. Nothing changed. And I think it's because of the perspective switch that happened. So it feels like the ending of like, yeah, go ahead.
In a lot of ways, it still kind of reads like a bunch of little short stories.
Yeah.
They're just woven together for more of like a cohesive plot, even though it's not structured in a way that is familiar to me as a reader. Like, but it's intriguing and like keeps your attention in the same way that the short stories do, I think.
Yeah, and I think because it's shifted to being more cozy than action adventure, you're more willing to give it time to build and not necessarily have super high stakes. Because, I mean, a lot of this book is like people in a place learning a thing. And even the way that the emotional... Well, we'll talk about more about the arc of the book as it goes on. But the first chunk of this book is... And it is very interesting, the viewpoints that he decides to use for each section of the book, because he tends to only use one person, but you're never in Geralt. I'm going to do this every time. In Geralt's head. You're never in Geralt's head, and you're not in Ciri's until the end. And you're
in the first chapter, in the very beginning, we are in Ciri's head.
Yes, correct.
Right, but then pretty much after that, you're not. Mostly, this first chunk of the book is told from the point of view of Triss Merigold, which again, hot red-headed sorceress lady. Not like in the TV show where she was fugly. And she is going to where the Witchers train. Like, and the Witchers are, again, we're not going to explain all these concepts. Anyway, she goes to where the Witchers train.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm going to put a screen here so you guys can know what I'm talking about.
I don't even remember what she looks like, but I'm sure it's fine. The point is, she does not describe like Yennefer is described. She's described just as a beautiful woman. And so, you know, whatever. But the point is all wizards / magicians or whatever in this world are... Well, yeah, they go by magicians too.
They do.
They do. And so now that I have my feminine support, thank you, in this regard, which is so fitting.
Again, I couldn't decide between the two of you because I was like, they're kind of the same
Oh my
person. They look really the same.
Anyway,
so.
point being though, like, what were you saying about Triss before though?
Sorry.
No,
Well, you are wrong. A lot
redhead.
of this book is in Ciri's POV. A huge chunk when they're with the traveling with the dwarf, like it's not mostly. It's a lot. Most of it, I would say, is in Ciri's.
Well, the thing is, in my head, the way I think of it is the character that part is about is not the person whose head we're in. So the parts that are kind of more about Ciri are not in her head, and the parts with Ciri are either about Geralt or they're about Yennefer. So that's kind of how I think of it. But you're correct. Yes, it's there's actually quite a bit.
At the end of the day, the title of it is The Blood of Elves, so it makes sense that it would center around her being that of the elder blood and everything. You know what I found really fun, though, is as someone who has played the video game and watched the video game and been obsessed with the video game, and has watched the show at least once, it's really interesting to see the differences just because, like, where we start at, right? Once we get past the little interlude that happens before Triss really starts entering the picture, is that all I could remember is that I'm pretty sure in the TV show, it's interesting the choices they made, and we can, go into the plot and stuff and everything after this, but I just wanted to make a brief a mention of it. It's interesting that in the TV show, they chose to replace Triss in the scenes that we get at the beginning of this novel with Yennefer. And I'm assuming for the reasoning of it's a TV show, so we're going to, mainstream or centralize what characters we use.
Once again, don't talk to me about the TV show. They made so many bad choices with Yennefer's character. I hate what they did with Yennefer.
Yeah, they really definitely... I saw a lot of influence of the novel in the show, though. Not that I would say, of course, that they successfully executed it, but it's just funny. It's because a good chunks of this novel in particular do show up in the TV show. So if you've seen the TV show and you liked it, you should read this novel because you'll like it more. And then of course the video game, parts of this has to do with the same parts that are revealed in at least the part I say the video game. What I really mean is the one that came out most recently, which is the the Wild Hunt.
Before the woke feminists went and ruined Ciri by giving her wrinkles around her eyes.
Isn't that such a weird thing? I actually, what's funny?
Why are they trying to trans our kids? Fucking pronouns. Sorry, I will never not make fun of the pronouns guy.
The Cockney accent kills me.
Oh my god.
Or the attempt at it.
It just looks like such a mad baby.
No, for sure. Absolutely. I do agree. That being said, though, it's actually funny that you bring that up, and I'll just cut it real short, but just by saying, ironically, that trailer that came out, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's the newest little teaser trailer that they let out a couple months ago of the next Witcher game, which is from Ciri's apparently protagonist, perspective and everything throughout the game is what it seems that it'll be. I don't know that that's what I would have pictured Ciri to become, which is really fascinating, especially after this novel, because I was like, oh, she has a personality and a whole little identity. Is this what I would have pictured her coming out to?
Well, you don't know what her arc is yet in the book. So.
Exactly, which is true. It's so funny Val says that, because I was just about to say, but I don't know what happens between this and that. And what hardens her and makes her become like this cold. And it's funny, it's because a lot of people badmouth that trailer, but funnily, I think it's wonderful. I think if you notice the soundtrack was chosen. I'm like I have a hard on for the Witcher
we should
soundtrack.
get into the plot.
No, I know. I'm just mentioning, though, it's really wicked. You should go check it out.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Cool. So who is Triss Merigold, Val?
Well, we don't start with Triss, but Triss is a sorceress who is a friend of Yennefer's. But we start the book, if you don't mind, with Ciri having a nightmare. She's been very traumatized when she was escaping from Sintra when the Nilfgaardians attacked. And she has this consistent nightmare about a knight with like black armor with a helmet with like a bird wings on it. And it's unclear exactly what went down she she wakes up and Geralt is like calming her down, and she's like,
But
"What did
we
he do to
all
me? I
know-
don't remember." And like there's all sorts of implications. We don't know what happened with the knight. It's just sort of in the background. And
We all know what happened with the knight. Go ahead.
do we? We'll see.
No, but I actually do have a question. Is that what happened, or is it something else and it's just
We'll
leading
see.
us to believe that? Oh, does
If
it
you
tell
want to
you?
keep reading, yeah.
Yeah, does it tell you though? At some
Eventually.
point?
Yeah.
Oh.
You learn who the knight is eventually.
Is the twist that actually is going to happen in the future?
You guys are asking weird questions.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Go ahead.
And that's a very brief scene. Geralt is taking Ciri to Kaer Morhen, and then we switch shortly after, unless you have something to add before we move on, Katie.
Oh no, not at all. When Will said it happens in the future, I was like, oh. And then I was like,
Oh, yeah, because she is having these sort of premonitions.
that's why I say that. So I was like, oh, what a twist. Anyway, I'll keep it at that. Continue.
Everyone forget about that. I have that for one of my books. So forget that I ever said that.
You're
Alright,
the
go ahead.
only one who's ever thought of it.
Yeah.
And we quickly switch to Dandelion, or Dandelion as the narrator
Oh my
calls
God.
him now. And he's just sung a beautiful ballad. A whole bar is crying about, and he was singing about Geralt and the Child of Destiny and his great love with the sorceress Yennefer. And there's a extended scene where everyone in the bar is sort of debating about what actually happened.
I actually wanted to mention real quick. This is if you recall, not so much at a bar per se, but underneath a great oak.
Yeah, yes, you're right.
Okay, so the only reason I mention that is because this was such an influential scene on me. I feel like I've experienced this scene specifically in every single high fantasy video game I've ever played in my life. And it's just wonderful. It is a wonderful establishment of what politics are going to be introduced, of what racisms and prejudices are happening in the background. It's great.
And at the same time, it's sort of a recap of what we know about Geralt and Yennefer and Ciri for people who maybe didn't read the short stories. It's a really well done scene. It's doing a lot of things at once, I think, really successfully.
Lots of good dialogue options.
And Dandelion, we learn quickly, doesn't actually know. The last time Dandelion saw Geralt was after Nilfgaard attacked Sintra. So Dandelion does not know if Geralt is alive, if Ciri is alive, if they found each other. He knows next to nothing about that. But he just wrote this to be a beautiful ballad for them. And then Dandelion sneaks off to his room. He's about to buy a lady for the night, and
Two ladies.
He's trying to decide between the two ladies. He can't afford both. But a visitor shows up, and the ladies are taken out, and he's like, "Who's this guy? Who's the stranger?" And he starts talking, and the stranger at first seems really nervous and Weasley, kind of. He's like, "Tell me, is it true? I have to know the truth about Ciri. Is she alive? Please tell me." And I was like, "No, it's a poet never reveals his secrets." And this Weasley little guy is like, "Oh, but surely you can tell me just a little bit." And then a switch flips, and he's like, "All right, if you're not going to tell me, I'm going to kill you." And then he chases him down, binds him, strings him up with magic, and is torturing him for information. He's an absolute sicko. His name is Rience, and he's going to be a sicko for a long time.
You know what's funny is that there is, I will say, a lot of torture scenes for information in this novel, at least as far as my general experience of torture scenes.
I was wondering what Will thought about it, because I know he often has a lot of opinions.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
Is Will gonna get angry about the fact that this is not a real thing of what?
Well, it was worth pointing out it wasn't effective here. Dandelion did not break. So, okay, so far. We'll talk about the others as we get there, but yeah, so far not bad. Torture is not shown to be effective. People do torture. It's the fact that they show it to be effective. That's kind of my issue. But yeah, and then in comes some person who smells
Really
of clover.
hot, busty girl in goth clothing.
Actually, isn't she dressed like a man?
Oh, was she? Okay, I don't.
I think that was
remember.
just Katie's imagination.
Yeah, that
I
was my
also-
imagination.
And Yennefer busts in and she saves Dandelion. And she kills some of the henchmen, but she doesn't get the main guy. And Dandelion's like, "Oh, that really sucked." And she's like, "It's you said that my heart was broken by Geralt, and that's not accurate. And they have this funny scene where she's like, you
She's
should write me
actually-
differently, essentially.
Yeah. She's actually really sweet. It's a touching scene between them where she like calls him like a friend, and there's a certain amount of sincerity from her that you don't see very often, and you can tell that she actively like says at one point, like, I consider you a friend. Thank you for being a friend to Geralt. Like, because in the last short story collection we read after she left, like, Dandelion was there with Geralt, like, just keeping him company after the breakup, essentially. And, like, she was like, thank you. And, like, she doesn't know if he's alive. You can tell she's really worried about him.
And this is where, again, we get the reintroduction to her and Geralt. They're meant for each other, but they just can't get along in person.
Again, it's like a divorce story. Like, like you have the passion, you have the love, but you don't have the basic ability to necessitate functionality on a day-to-day level. So because of that lack, I'm still your
kind
friend.
of a divorce energy about them.
Yeah, it does have divorce energy. Am I wrong?
It does a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty. I like it. I think it's a little childish on both their parts, but I kind of think that's also the point a little bit is that like you're not necessarily supposed to think they have a doomed love that's because of whatever. It's like, no, you guys kind of have a lot of trauma you need to process and deal with.
Correct. It really does come across as two people that have their own baggage that unfortunately cannot manage their baggage in each other's presence. So because they keep ticking off the wrong like little ticks that happen for each other. So it does become particularly funny, in my opinion, when she obviously takes Ciri as her pseudo daughter later on, which we'll get to, but
spoilers. Yeah, and so basically she's like, Val, you go ahead.
Is that what she said? Val, go ahead.
Yeah.
Essentially, they're talking about how if Geralt was taking Ciri somewhere, he would take her to Kaer Morhen. They don't say the name out loud because people are listening, and it's really hard to get to Kaer Morhen. Yennefer knows how to, but she's never been uninvited, and she doesn't tell Dandelion how to get there because she's like, you're already like, your cover's blown, buddy. You just got to get out of here and don't talk about Ciri ever again. Like just
The
like
cover Sintra is
keep
not
her name out of
in existence.
And he's like, all right. And like Dandelion's like, well, you should go check on him. And she's like, no, I won't do it unless he invites me. And then
Divorced energy.
Yes. And then the first chapter ends with a very brief scene of Ciri and Geralt showing up at Kaer Morhen and Ciri being a little nervous around all the Witchers. And this is where we meet Triss.
But she's so happy whenever Geralt's around, and she like feels comforted
so
by
cute.
him, and it's so cute. I
It
can't
is,
it's so archetypal, but it works so well. Like it's still very cute, and there's enough specificity to both characters that I don't think it feels tired.
It doesn't. It's the same way why The Last of Us was so successful. I mean, don't get me wrong, the graphics were awesome, especially for the time. The cutscenes were fun. The general world that things existed in were awesome. But what really fueled it was the father-daughter relationship, which is the same here, which is not
Isn't it great they kept that for the second game, and they didn't do something stupid to make a stupid point?
We're not going to address that. That's not part of this discussion. We can have a separate discussion on that. But that being said, I still don't even know what happens in the second game at all because I have not watched a single thing because I refuse to acknowledge that.
You do, because we've had a discussion about this, but you might have been a little...
No. I mean, I have seen it. I have discussed it.
I ain't no senator's son now.
Oh my God,
Anyway.
William, shut up. Will says that, but what Will doesn't say is that he gets high on glue fumes from his miniatures, and that's really why he does so many miniatures. Is that he just really enjoys the fumes of glue, so he sniffs
miniatures?
glue. You're a glue sniffer, William.
You pronounce things so weird. It's miniatures.
Are you guys done?
Yeah, we're
Go
done.
ahead.
I'm sorry, Mom. Sorry, Mom. Can we continue? I'm ready to continue.
Go ahead.
All right. So this is where we meet Triss, chapter 2. Triss is walking through. We learn that she has been invited to Kaer Morhen, not Yennefer. And as she's like trudging through the forest, she sees a little a boy she thinks zoom by on the trail. And she's familiar with the Witchers. Like, she's like, oh, I didn't know they had a new Witcher boy training here. That's interesting. And she's like, oh, I wonder if I'll see him again. And then, like, another zoom past, and she's like, and I think we learn very quickly this is Ciri. Ciri like takes a little tumble, and like Triss goes over and helps her. She's like, "Oh my god, you're a girl," and they have sort of a nervous back and forth where Ciri doesn't really want to give too much information. She's like, "Who are you? I don't know you. Why are you here?" But they end up going back to Kaer Morhen together. And then when Ciri gets on the horse, though, Ciri has a freaky ass moment where she starts saying things that don't quite make sense, and then her voice gets like really evil sounding, like a possessed. Like,
it's so great the way the audiobook narrator. Yeah.
It's
Because
so
not
creepy.
like her voice at all.
Yeah. So it's like at first, sorry if I just finished.
Okay.
Like it's like a few little like things that don't quite sound right, and then it quickly turns to like directly addressing Triss. You shouldn't be alive. You should have died on Sodden Hill. Death is coming for you, essentially. And Triss is like, oh shit, what the fuck is wrong with this child?
I mean, literally, she says in a goblin-esque voice that sounds like the sharpness of the winter cold, "Triss Merigold, if you continue down this line, you will join your name on the memory stone of Sodden Hill, and it will come to claim you." And honestly, at that point, if I were her, I would have just been like, "Oh, let me just drop you off real quick. Glad to have been a taxi service for a child that was in need. Peace." And
So
that
what the
would
guy is talking about, the possessed person, is that she fought in a battle against the Nilfgaardians of whatever hill, where a bunch of
the
sorcerers
Germans,
died.
as someone said.
Yeah,
We can just call them
I was thinking
Nilfgaardians, you guys.
Nilfgaardians, the Germans. And she, like, a bunch of people got fucked up and died, and she has Nom flashbacks about it. And she should have died there, but she didn't.
Nom is an
and it should
apostrophe nom.
Also be stated that Ciri briefly like lets it slip that Geralt is at Kaer Morhen, and Triss is like, "Geralt's there?
Oh my god, I'm so ready for a little tryst for Triss, if you know what I'm
Okay.
Oh,
saying.
she's such a clown. She's such a horny
She
clown.
is. We literally, guys. So what happens thereafter is she goes along with Ciri. They go back to the keep. They are like, "Oh, Triss, it's great to see you." All the witches are super stoked to see her. It's because she's like an extended part of the family. But later that night, before things start getting more settled into
before
things.
that, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Go
When
ahead.
they're taking, Geralt's like, "I'll take your horse." Triss is like, "I'll come with you," and she just like assaults him, just like smacks a kiss on
That's
him,
true.
and he's like, "Bitch, there's people here. Can we not?"
Yeah, that is true. That is the vibe. What I was gonna get at is the next horny moment she has, which
Yeah,
is
that was
literally her
really
laying
funny.
in bed saying, "Oh, I'm so horny," literally to you, the reader, and saying, "I just want him. I just want him so bad."
It's fun. Okay, but the author puts in the work to show
It's
that
so
she's
funny.
emotionally insecure,
I have
and
felt-
that's partly why she's horny.
I have felt what Triss has felt many a night, just laying in bed, being angry, punching my pillow, being like, "If only there were a dick to come over into my room."
She's so funny.
So
She's
this is
like-
something we should head off at the pass, because I'm sure we're going to talk about it a lot. But you know, I'm sure there's a bunch of discourse about, are these books sexist or not?
We're so
And
hot for Geralt. Stop it. He's so hot. It's objective.
That's
it's not
the thing. I'll
subjective.
talk about some of the other ways that I don't think the books are sexist, but like there definitely is. The author has a thing for women being hot for Geralt and being just kind of like a mess.
William, aren't you hot for Geralt? Aren't you?
I
Who
think
isn't? Who
With
isn't?
two swords. Yeah, and so that's kind of just the price of entry to an extent, and I don't think it's necessarily. I'm
here's
going to
the
be using
thing.
that phrase a lot because it just is.
It doesn't bother me so much just because Geralt's kind of a bumbling idiot sometimes. And you get the sense that he just sort of falls into bed with people and he's like,
Correct.
How did that happen? Like later.
Literally.
That happens later. Yeah.
At one point, he's having sex with like a 17-year-old, and somebody's like, "Oh, wouldn't Yennefer be really pleased to know you're having sex
And like he
with
just
a
sort of like stands
17-year-old?"
there like, I don't know how this happened, man.
Don't come in, Dandelion.
I tripped. What do you expect? I fall on things.
And I think there's also an extent to which the author is portraying women throughout the book in a variety of roles and as like people with full lives. Like Triss doesn't just it
No.
isn't just like a horny mess who exists to tell us that Geralt's hot. Geralt is
Not at
kind
all.
of not as much wish fulfillment as you would think, and she has her own stuff going on. So there's an extent to which there's a lot of sex in the book, but I feel like it might just be like a European thing where they're just more like they talk about sex more and they view it as like less sexy than we do and more messy. Because there are parts in the
quite
book where the sex is just
puritanical.
more like messy than anything else.
I mean, look, all three of us are Americans. Again, like I said, we're all unfortunately corrupted by the Puritans in some
We are.
one way or another.
Some more than others. But
You were saying something.
Triss is like, she's embarrassingly horny and like all the time. And there's something really funny about her internal, because not a lot of characters have like this sort of sprawling internal monologue. And oftentimes Triss does. She's just like, she'll like giggle to herself as she thinks something and she's like piecing things together. Like she's some kind of like detective. Like, I wonder why they like asked me here. And, oh, but he didn't ask Yennefer to be here. I wonder why that is. And she's like,
Bro.
There is a bumbling detective kind of feeling to her that's so funny.
It is very adorable, honestly, without being irritating, which is very skillful, in my opinion, from a writer's level. But also, can we just say how skeezy? I'm sorry, like, I really liked Triss, but how skeezy is it that she herself thinks back? And she's just like, I knew Yennefer and him had a huge, really important thing.
Magical roofied Geralt to sleep with her.
She admits it. She's like, I might have used some magic to make him have sex with me, but man, was it worth it? It's like,
She has a valid emotional. I think you guys are dismissing her too early. I really like Yennefer. Or what is it, Jennifer?
can't even get the
Triss.
name straight, can ya? They're all the
look.
same, aren't they? Just like
Listen.
her and I.
I think
Listen.
he's making a commentary on what living a really long time and having a lot of power in a socially isolated state is like,
So you're
and the
saying
emotional
because you're
needs.
old, you can
And
mistake
no,
that for me.
We haven't, I think we'll get more details on this like in the next book, but, and we know this a little bit, but all sorceresses are basically were ugly girls. Like they were turned in, like this is a bunch of girls with deep insecurities
Oh, God,
who are
that's
like
true.
put in a school together and learn to be like, can you imagine the toxic environment a bunch of previously ugly hot girls have together? Like,
Fair enough.
And again, I think there's something to the author portraying something that he saw in real life that rings kind of true, but and that he's also not condemning necessarily.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and keep going with the plot. So she shows up there. All the witches are like, hey, it's cool you're here. And she's like, okay, I'm not going to ask why they brought me here, but they must have a reason. Again, there's bumbling detective vibes about the
she's
whole
like
thing.
her cogs are turning. She's like,
Well,
I know what this is about.
They're not hiding it very well because Ciri's just straight up like, why aren't you feeding me the usual things you usually feed me? And then Triss is just like, oh, so they're trying to feed her supplements and enhancements. Okay,
Ciri's
I
like,
get it.
I don't like this water. It makes my teeth hurt. Like, Ciri, you're so funny.
There's a great, and I'll mention this once, but throughout the entire book, and I noticed this in the first two books, everybody is very like merchanty. Like everybody's trying to figure out what the best thing for them is and what they can get from this situation. And like Triss is a good person, but she's also like, ooh, can I get this knowledge from this? Like everybody has their own agency that they're trying to get in the world that I think feels very real. And it's also just fun because she's kind of trying to like work her own angle on this. She has her own agency into this situation.
So
Which I
the
think
next, yeah, it's
I'm smart.
it's
Go ahead.
really, you are very smart, Will. I think the next thing that happens is, so Triss immediately is like, Ciri's hair, bad. Her clothes, bad. Clearly, like, these witches just sort of stitched, like, their own leathers together smaller to make it fit onto, like, this little girl. And she's like, we need to fix this immediately. So, Triss takes Ciri up to her room and is, like, getting her, like, magically fitted for, like, clothes that actually work for her. And they get to talking, and, like, she takes, like, Ciri's, like armor off. She's like, oh my god, you're covered in bruises. She's like pissed off, and Ciri's like, oh, they don't hit me, it's just all of these whirring machines when I'm training, and they like slap me and stuff. It's not a big deal. She's like, what about this one? Like, I just got it when I fell off the thing when I was training.
Which, to be frank, I agree with Ciri. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. What What got me though is the next part, which Val will elucidate us on.
Yes, and Ciri is like, Triss, can magic turn me into a boy? And Triss is like, no. She's like, oh, well, can it? Like, she like whispers something into her ear. And she's like, and Triss is like, oh my god! And we realize
to the next scene.
And Triss like storms downstairs to the boys, and she's like, did you know that your girl is menstruating? And they're like, huh?
Don't say that word in front of me.
Ew.
They're like, oh fuck, we didn't even think about that. She's like, she probably started it while she was here and she was too embarrassed to tell you. And they're like, oh god, we're so dumb. And Vesemir, the oldest one, is like,
your womanly ways, Triss.
yeah, one of Eskel, my boy, like gets on a knee, real like girl's girl that time. He's like, please help us. And Triss is like, oh, don't worry, I will. And then Ciri comes down in like this fancy like princess dress, and Triss is like, come in, let them know. And she's like, I cannot train today because I am indisposed.
It's really cute.
It is cute,
like,
actually.
if you ever see that girl in a dress, do not ask questions. Let her stay in her room. It's like, it's great.
It's again another of the ways that I think the book. You would think that somebody. It's one of the ways that I don't think the book is as sexist as you would initially think, because it's not like, ooh, girl stuff, or like Triss or Ciri is trying to not be like other girls. The author never really condemns any of the female characters for like being feminine or wearing makeup. For example, it's just like exactly. Like it's, so the books are I think a little bit interesting in that way, that they have certain signs you would normally associate with a sexist writer, but they're not quite actually like that when you dig down into them. And so it's like, it's interesting, I think.
You know what I think it is that allows for the satisfaction of the way he portrays things is that he has a realm that is the masculine realm. He has a realm that is the feminine realm. And he does have those that come in between those two, as in a Venn diagram. And he's like, yeah, there are different realms, just like there are different races and there are different religions. But that doesn't mean you can't cross one another and for it to have different meanings to the character themselves. And so that's why I think he's so successful in portraying each and every one of his characters, even if it's as small as a bridge person who's trying to get drugs from somebody versus one of your main characters who's a really cool, hot, white-haired, golden-eyed dude. So, like, it just, he like you said, you know what has to be spoken for is years of experience, perhaps.
Can we highlight Chris M's comment?
I was about to say, yeah. Chris M says, the author said that his female characters are all inspired by all the badass women who raised him in a post-World War II Poland when there weren't that many men around. It does feel like that. Like, he's just aware that women, like, it's a little stodgy old man, but it's mostly like, yeah, women are people and they're doing a thing. And it's fine that they're wearing makeup. It's not a cooties thing, you know? And so, like, again, I think if you're a woman and it's a little hard to get past the sexualization of women in the books, I get it. I don't think it's that bad.
I don't blame people for getting weird vibes from it if they're particularly sensitive to it, but like it doesn't hit me at a weird angle at all.
Yeah,
the author seems very aware of what he's doing, even when he is, playing into these tropes, because he does it on purpose a lot of the time.
Also, I think he just likes pretty girls, and let's be real.
Hey, don't we all?
Like, why do you think I like being on this podcast with William so often? He's a beautiful woman. He's a pretty girl.
Bearded lady at the circus. Okay. So so she does her like pretty woman thing, and Ciri's now like gonna hang out with her a little bit, and then there's like training montages with Ciri. But basically what we find out
continue.
Basically, what we find out is that the Witchers are gonna give her the potion that makes her into a Witcher, and they don't even know if it's gonna work on a girl, and it's really harsh. And Triss is like, you shouldn't do that. Especially because of the problem you guys are having that you haven't told me about, which is that Ciri is having visions and it's going to be bad. And that makes her a receptacle for magic, but not a source of it or something.
Yeah, she's called a source. That's what they call her.
Yeah, she calls her a source. Unknowingly, they get in touch with energy, and unknowingly, they convert it, which is like what in The Last Wish, what we saw Pavetta do that night at the party. Like Geralt
Correct.
says, yeah, I saw Pavetta do it. It's a real thing. Like they can just sort of like explode with magic.
A
Like,
transmitter, but not
Triss
the
says,
sword.
by the way, no, they're not. Triss is speculating that they might do that. Yeah, that's what I
yeah, they're not planning on doing that. That was one of her
That's
like
true.
detective.
This is just the only way
machinations.
they know to do childcare is
I-
to train a kid as a witcher.
Yeah, the child abuse part. Yeah, no, I was gonna mention that, but then I was like, oh, maybe like I misread it. But yeah, no, I don't think. I think
They're
it's
giving her
explicitly
like
said.
stimulants and stuff like to help with her training, but they're
Yeah,
not
like
actually,
just
yeah.
Stimulants. The old roids, just to make sure she's. But then Triss, of course, recommends to them maybe not so much roids. She may not have libresticles. That is
was
literally
so
a conversation that comes
Yeah.
up.
Okay, so
True,
and the author always has ways of saying boobs that aren't boobs. He either says like charms or there's another one he uses a lot.
Endowments.
Endowments sometimes or chests.
I have
which
none.
is-
Val has some. Will has many.
and,
Sorry, I'll stop.
I wasn't really paying attention. I was just reading the chat.
Female attributes.
Chris says 100% they're doing what they know, but had already decided to send her to Nenek for schooling. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Nenek,
later
yeah.
on, they're like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna actually send her off to be like have kid friends
And so
know
they're sitting
stuff."
around like a dinner table at one point. Triss and the Witchers, Cohen, one of the Witchers, is like in the corner playing extreme patty cake with Ciri and like letting her win. It's very cute. But Triss and the other boys are talking, and she's like, saying Ciri's a source, blah blah blah. And she's like, tell me, when was the first? I know you guys have seen that freaky prophecy shit. What happened? They're like, okay, the first time she like drank this thing called the white seagull. Like she thought it was water. It was like I don't know if is it specifically like a hallucinogen or is it just alcohol?
No,
I'm not sure.
So the
think
way it
it's-
describes, I keep hitting my mic. I'm sorry. I'll move away a little bit. The way
Probably
I
asked for
remember,
it.
I remember it specifically saying because I was really enamored with the term white seagull for some reason and black seagull. I don't know why. I really hearkened to that as like a term for something that is also hallucinogenic. It just seems like a really cool word. But the point is white seagull is just supposed to be so she's like, it's a hallucinogenic, and they're like, not quite. That's actually black seagull. That is the hallucinogenic that makes you just see wild shit. But the white seagull stuff is more like pot that just makes you like relaxed.
That's
what
probably
the gist
as good a
was.
description as any. Yeah. So Ciri like took some, and they're like, "Oh shit, we just got this girl, and now we killed her. Oh god!" And she doesn't. She's completely incoherent. She's not saying words, but like eventually they do hear, and like the girl's like, "Yeah, she's talking about people's deaths." She's like saying prophecy she doesn't remember afterwards, and Triss's little brain is like, "Oh, I got a plan,"
Well, first she's like, really, you should have brought the specialist here who already knows the way here, Yennefer, but I wondered why you didn't, Geralt. And Geralt's like,
He says nothing actually. In the end, it's Vesemir. Vesemir's just like, yes, it was just exclusive leave to help this girl. And she's like, oh, I'm so happy Vesemir answered, because if Geralt had said that, it would have broken my heart. And it's like,
so funny.
oh my God.
She's such a mess. I really do
know.
find it amusing. But yeah, so she's like, okay, we're going to do this magic test thing or whatever. And she does the magic test thing or whatever and goes into Ciri's brain. And in there, she meets a dark presence.
she's back on Sodden Hill. Like Ciri turns around. I think like she's like got like a blood on her hand or something.
But yeah, on
and
her
she
lifeline.
does the same thing. Like just starts talking about like Triss,
You're gonna
you
die,
should be
bitch.
dead. 14th one. Like and it's hinted at a lot throughout this book that like Sodden Hill was fucked up with all the sorceresses. Like Triss like got her hair like singed off. Everyone was blinded. Like
It's
it was
actually quite horrific.
traumatizing. Yeah.
There's a scene where she's describing looking at somebody else, and it's just a trunk of a body where it was her friend
Ugh.
once,
Yeah.
and it's like she's
she's like looks down at a trunk and I'm
pretty
like, oh,
hardcore.
that's my friend. Like,
yeah.
All that's left is their torso and nothing else.
yeah,
Mhm.
like
And she at one point had a scene with Geralt where she was like, Yeah, I don't follow blindly the instructions of the mage court or whatever anymore because, like, on that day I got radicalized. Like, what were we fighting for? And that's going to play into the themes of neutrality in the book of, like, what is the role of the Witchers? How should you decide what to do? Those themes aren't really, I feel like, brought to a full conclusion, but they are kind of examined.
And there's another discussion, like, again, there's a training montage. Ciri has really sweet moments with all the Witchers while she's doing her little training. All of them are so cute with her. Like, it's adorable. And even in the brief scenes we see with, like, the 4 Witchers here, like, all of them are characterized really well. Like, he doesn't have to put that much work, but he just puts in enough work that you can be like, oh, she has, look at all these dads.
Yeah, basically, that's the vibe.
Look at all these lumberjack dads who don't quite know how to handle a daughter, but they love her.
And so Ciri is going to be going to Neneka's temple in the spring, and it's winter now. And Triss and the boys are sort of talking around the table, and Triss gets to talking about the trauma at Sodden Hill a little bit, and she's like, and the boys are like, oh, where can we go where we can, get the most money for our monster slaying in the spring, huh? And Triss is like, why don't you guys just join the fight? Like, there's justice to be had. You're not helping. And they're all like, we're just blue-collar monster hunters. And she's like, how can you be neutral in a situation like this? You can use a sword. Like, there's, like, this big argument back and forth about, like
I'm
we're
curious.
like, we're just fighting monsters. Like,
I'm actually really curious on your guys' own perspective. Just real quick. Do you guys agree with the Witchers, or not the Witchers, but specifically, I mean, Geralt's perspective of it, including the perspective that he brings up later on at the memorial site for the elven, and for the, elven, Elvar, that's not how they refer to themselves, but whatever. And then, so on and so forth. Like, do you guys agree with, like, do you understand where he's coming from, or do you disagree and think he's closed-minded? Because I think it's a matter of, like, perspective fully.
I mean, I think we have to describe what's going on with the elves.
So you want to go over first? Can I ask that later then?
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. But no, in terms of that situation specifically, the elven commando squirrels are important.
So
100%
the square tiles, as they say it, almost. It sounds like square.
The scoliosis is
tiles.
Their actual name.
It's the scoliosis. Continue, Val. And as you continue, don't mind me. I'm just going to get a different water. It's because this, you don't need to know why. Long story short, I'm congested.
So, Triss is talking about her trauma. She's like, you should feel obligated to fight for the people, Geralt. Like, and Geralt's like, I'm not gonna do it, man. And then Ciri is in the hallway listening, and she's like, I'll fight for the people, Triss. Next time, just let me know. And Geralt's like, absolutely not. Like, he says something like a little bit too sharp, and Ciri like runs off crying because like she's like, I wanted to help the people, and Geralt's like, no, you don't. You don't know what you're talking about. I'll take away your sword. Don't get involved in this. Yeah. I'll take away your sword if you're gonna kill yourself in a war. And she's like, don't take away my sword. And like she runs off to the roof, and Geralt's like, oh man. And like he and Triss find her up, and she's like, you're not gonna take it away from me, are you? And I'm like, no. And then she like slips off the roof, and Triss is like, I can't get there in time. Geralt hugs her. They land safely. It's a touching moment. But did we finish discussing the evil presence in the dream? I don't think so. If you have more to add, go for it.
I just don't really remember that much about it because in my head I basically consigned it as we're gonna know more about this bad guy later.
Yeah. Let me see if I wrote down anything in my notes.
Chris M says, Ciri basically gives 2 prophecies that happen before the end of this book. 1, the fight at Sherwad, and 2, the discussion between the kings when they decide to kill her. I think that was during the dream.
Oh, yeah. That's...
I think that's about, I mean, it's not super important. It's mostly like, ooh, dark things are a coming, some kind of power. Because the big thing is that, like, Ciri's power on its own will destroy her if something isn't done about it. And that's why Triss is there, is to try to kind of do something about it.
And Triss blatantly says at a certain point, like, I think it's after she, like, goes in, like, Ciri's mind and has that vision. She's like, you guys need a better sorceress than me. You need Yennefer. She's just... I can't do this. And Geralt's like, all right, I'll write a letter to her in the spring.
Yeah.
And We'll talk about the letter when we get there.
We'll talk about the letter in a second.
So iconic.
Chris M says the bad guy has the staple line about you're confusing the reflection of the lake for the stars in the sky. That's where it was, because at the end of the book, one of the characters says that, and I'm like, I know somebody else said that. Is that supposed to be?
I was thinking that too.
A Wham line, and I couldn't remember.
I think only he'd said it up to that point, but I think someone else says it. Like, was it Yennefer at the end?
One of the other bad guys, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm blanking on which.
Was it Rience,
also says it. Yeah, I think it was one of the Nilfgaardian.
I feel like Rience is pretty much the only named one that really matters in this one.
Yeah, I think so as well. But yeah, so they decide, okay, we're gonna go to the spring place or whatever, and on the way they get sabotaged.
And also, Triss has the shits real bad.
Yeah, that's the sabotage. And it's really funny because at first they're like, well, first Ciri and Geralt didn't say anything to be polite. And then they were like,
nothing was happening.
Yeah, and then they were like, what's happening here? And so they have to stop at this town or whatever, but the town has been under attack. And this is where the second chunk of the book starts, which I call, the first part I call Triss is a horny mess, and the second part I call Dwarves in the Caravan. Because this section, though we don't get to the dwarves yet, I mostly think of in terms of dwarves. Basically, humans in this world, right, are the ascendant one, and like dwarves, gnomes, and elves are like second-class citizens, or kind of. We're not fully integrated. And in this case, we have a radical group of Hamas, Black Lives Matter elves called the Squirrels, canonically in the book, or the Scoliosis is the name they use.
Also, Chris M, thank you. That makes so much more sense. Foreshadow.
Vilgefortz. I had no idea what it was spelled like. So the extremist elves are basically like, they're like, look, we're going to drive the humans out now. It's time we take rights for everybody. And like the book will kind of not necessarily take a moral position on whether they're right or not, I found. The book is a bit like, well, this is kind of what the humans get for how they've been treating them, but also like, this is not going to work out great for everyone. It's interesting because it's hard for me to know. I immediately process any conflict of colonizer indigenous in an American context of Native American, but this is a Polish author. I don't really know that he is making a Native American or indigenous kind of comparison, and there are parts where it's like, the elves are very much like, I get the sense that he's like, okay, what if we took the mythological elves of this period and then applied like a real world trope to them, more so than what is metaphorically a indigenous discussion I'm having.
Oh,
and so
I see what
it ends up a little bit messy in that way, I find. Because again, I don't think he's just, Chris M says, the scoia'tael, which I think translates to squirrel tail. Yeah, that's why they call it squirrels, but also it's pronounced scoliosis. And they also say, and the elves have broken into groups, which they call commandos. Like, this is so clearly a translation thing.
You know what it reminded me more of? Honestly, weirdly enough, is it kind of reminded me a little bit more of, which I don't know how much influence, because I don't know the history on that side of the world at this time, but it reminded me a little bit more of Nam, ironically, and all of that stuff, like where it's like more guerrilla warfare, like going on, because it specifically mentions the term guerrilla warfare. So like, which again, of course, at the end of the day is a translation from something else. So it's just interesting. But continue, please. Also,
well,
oh my God, my husband's making dinner and he made it too spicy and he was like, try it. And I was like, okay. And I tried it and I was like, it's too spicy. He's like, no, it's not. And then I was like, why did you ask me? If you're going to tell me,
racial discrimination is what happens.
He's
gonna make you other food that's separate but equal to this food. So just watch out for that reverse.
Whatever, continue.
So one thing I will say is that Val watches another YouTube channel, whose name we won't say because we don't want you to go over there. That she's a Polish YouTuber.
She's very good.
They'll never be able to find it though because it's not spelled that way.
It's with a W.
Has she said anything from a Polish perspective about the elf conflict that you remember at all? Because again, I'm curious about what this means in a Polish or Eastern European.
I
view?
I can't recall. It's been a minute since I watched some of her older videos where she really gets into it. I should watch it though before if we want to do the next one.
Vindberg says the region of Europe was brutally warred over the last 2 years in the mix of different racial minorities and so on. That's still not even what I was looking for. But yeah,
Polish people know the strife.
That's what I was looking.
But yeah, and I mean that is worth pointing out. I mean, there's a lot going on there in terms of that. It's not just white people. You know what I mean? Like, people tend to look at Europe and be like, oh, they're all white people. And it's like, no, this is a really complex demographic and ethnic mix. And you even have, I mean, within his generation, you had the Nazis basically trying to kill everybody east of them so that they could move in there. Its own form of colonization and, you know, what happened to Poland. So, again, I'm wondering... I hesitate to kind of apply a colonist indigenized framework to it.
But yeah, as an American reader, it's hard not to, right?
Yeah, it's a bit hard to be like, it feels like the trope of, well, we white Americans aren't great, but it's terrible when brown people do violence against us and they're the bad guys. Maybe at the end of the movie, once we've defeated them, we'll make some institutional changes, maybe. Like, that narrative, it feels like this is what that's doing, and I don't quite know that it is, but...
Agreed, fully. I don't think it is either. I don't think at all. But again, you can't help but read into your own filtered narrative of what is happening based off of your own upbringing for like how to read these kind of interactions for. So anyway, that being said, though, it
is complicated too by the characters. Like, one character points out that like most humans at this point have some elven blood. Like, there's actually kind of quite a bit of intermixture.
Apparently,
yeah. This is also making it worse for like dwarves and gnomes who had mostly like integrated more, and like it's not treated as like a one-to-one thing. It is a little bit more complicated than just colonize or colonize.
What part? Excuse me. What part did we get to?
We're at the town. They were looking for help for Triss, who has the shits right now, and she's allergic to elixirs, so she can't take any of the standard elixirs. And there's a lot of talk of like Geralt was like, shouldn't you be immune to all of this as a sorceress? And she doesn't want to talk about it. But she's not, apparently. And she's
I thought, so you know what's funny is that I had been told by somebody in the past that Triss dies from like dysentery type of thing. And when she didn't, spoilers, I guess. When she doesn't die here, I'm just kind of like, then when does she die? Does she die? Was I lied to this whole time? I feel really like misled.
We can read the rest of the books. When we get to the end of the series, we're gonna get like 200 views on the video. But I want to read the rest.
This is gonna be worse than I was thinking about it. I was like, this is gonna be our longest running series after what is it called? The
Why does Chris M say wishful thinking? Does Triss do something dumb later? Anyway.
Anyway.
No, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Anyway, the point is,
the knight in charge is very foofy and bad, but he's also like, look, I can't have maybe somebody with a communicable disease inside my fort right now. Like, but there's this caravan.
Is understandable.
Of cool people that went ahead, and you could probably catch up to them. So they go catch up to them, and there's a bunch of dwarves.
It's our boy Yarp and Zegrin, everybody.
Yes, it is. It's not just Yarp and Zegrin.
From the Villain Trettenmirth, the Golden Dragon story.
Yes. And he's like, yo, my bro, Geralt, come on in, my brosif. Let us linger. But the point is one of the best things about this chapter, so to say, of the book, is two things. Number one, Jörgen Zegrin, because he's great as a character. And the second thing is what you guys were actually just discussing, which is the whole political conflict and everything, which I think is one of the most fun. The reason why I'm mentioning this is two things. Because the two things that I found the most genuinely interesting in this book is this particular part of the book with the discussion of politics, because I think it's very applicable to in general life, but right now not America, because there's definitely something wrong. And then the other thing that comes up when we get to it, I'll mention it, is I wish I had a written version of the book to use, because Yennefer describes magic much later on, and those two things are like the coolest things in the book. So anyway, that being said, if you like politics, this chapter or area in the book alone will amuse you.
And it's also really interesting because all of this arc is pretty much entirely from Ciri's perspective. So you have sort of this child's viewpoint of adults talking about politics, and there's a lot of discussion about centrism and neutrality, and Yarp and Zegrin has joined like the war effort like against like the Nilfgaardians, and he's like Geralt, you can't be a centrist forever, like, you know, like.
Yeah, I think they literally, do they use the term centrist? I think it's neutral is the one they use.
Neutrality a lot, yeah, like
neutrality or something to that effect. No, it is actually really funny. It's because it's interesting. Yarp and Zegrin says, yeah, I'm siding with the humans because we've worked so long with the humans on creating a relationship that I think it's really important for me to continue to support that relationship, so that way we find common ground. But then, as we'll inevitably get to it at some point, he's kind of slapped in the face after that with some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not an unnuanced portrayal of the thing.
God, not at all.
The author very much kind of wants you to think about it. And Chris M says, when he's explaining it to Ciri, he says that neutrality is sitting on the fence, or it's indifference, I think is the word he uses. And I think one of the things is that is what he thinks, and then Geralt will make a bit more of a nuanced take on it, because he takes Ciri to look at like some elven statue in this elven glade, and he's like, this is where a bunch of the elves decided to make their stand against humanity. Or a bunch of them went away and were like, we're just going to outlast them. And then the younger ones were like, we're going to fight them. And they all died. And the problem is that elves can only breed when they're young.
Yes.
So that's one of the reasons they're like a dying race now.
The reason why they go into this particular area is that as they're traveling, they're looking out for the square tile.
Square tile, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the way
square tile.
I have it at 1.5 speed, so it sounds like square tile. So, like Squirtle. But anyway, so. Ciri's actually helping them out a little bit. They're giving her a little bit of a job to look ahead of the caravan to see if the way is clear. And she notices the elves. She's really quiet. Geralt comes around and she's like, shouldn't we warn the others? And he's like, no, let us not shed blood. Let us not instigate this interaction, because I know the true reason why they're here. And she's like, okay, well then what's that if it's not to kill us? And so he shows her, and it's a memorial site for a long held thing, which is the rebellion, the whatever, the roses, all this stuff.
Oh, like white lily roses or something.
Yeah, it's a memorial site is the point. And so they go there for spiritual reasons or personal motivations. And so Ciri really learns in this moment, and you understand Geralt more. It's not neutrality, and he specifically says it's not indifference. It's taking a bigger perspective, a stance on the bigger perspective. And she really takes that to heart. But then, of course, after.
She's like, can I take one of the lilies to remember this moment? And he's like, oh, okay, like just one. So she like puts it inside her little coat pocket,
tunic thing.
The other thing he says that's kind of interesting is he's like, almost all of the young people died in the last war. That can't happen again. And that gives you an understanding of the way that he like he's again, there's a longer view that he is taking.
Well, you know what's interesting is that it's the same take he takes on every species that he comes across. We've talked about this before, where we talked about how he was like, we need to try to preserve the species. We need to try to study it. We need to try to make sure it continues. He's more of like, what's funny is, what I saw in this book, and I specifically thought this towards the end at one point. I don't remember what was said, but I remember thinking it, is that Geralt is more like, it's interesting. I remember what part. When we get to it, I'll mention it again, so I'll be brief. He later on interacts with somebody who takes a scientific approach to all of the mystical creatures.
I was thinking about that too, yeah.
Yes, and it's funny, it's because he comes across as like the conservationist who's been in the wild, who sweated with the creatures, who knows their trackings and all these things, versus the person who studies in books. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that he has this neutrality stance, because he's trying to preserve everything possible, every life possible. And Ciri does learn from that, and I think that's incredibly cool that that's the perspective we're given, but it's not presented initially that way. So when we realize this grander, better perspective of truly just trying to preserve all life, you're like, yeah, hell yeah, Geralt. You're not indifferent. You just care more than everybody else.
Real quick, can we highlight Chris M's comment here? Also a nice moment to tell readers that all the big human cities, because the ruins were like the ruins of the Palace City, that abandoned Elvis fortress, you know, they just had to up and leave. Yeah, it's
which actually is interesting.
Good bit of world building, yeah.
Yeah, and it also, again, plays into this kind of, like, it's not an exact indigenous colonizer dynamic, though interestingly that is a real dynamic. None of the British colonies in America would have succeeded if it weren't for the fact that they were basically just taking the summer homes of the Indians at the time.
I wonder if what's funny is go ahead,
which the land had already been tilled and made fertile and stuff. It's not like it was just like wild land.
That makes sense. You know what's funny is I wonder, prior to you saying this, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if Dragon Age, the video game, took any inspiration from The Witcher in this regard in particular, because the inheritance of the elven artifacts to use as human devices. But then once you said that, I'm like, I wonder if that's just a greater theme that high fantasy can explore.
I'm sure it's a fairly common.
There is a character in one of the later Dragon Age games that actually does. He's very similar to Geralt. He's kind of like a very dapper guy. There's
don't shut.
Who's he talking about?
Okay, we're not going to get it. Don't. Will's making fun of me.
Tell me which one is he?
So he's not even that similar to. No, he's talking about Varric. He's just making fun.
You're talking about Varric?
No, he's talking about Lucanus in the most recent game because I have problems. We're not going to talk about it.
No, I'm using my public podcast to privately troll Val in a way that only she will understand. Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Okay,
anyway, real quick before we go back from this scene, I do want to fill in a couple blanks in the middle where. Because Ciri is slowly kind of putting together, like, that Triss is a little weird about Geralt, and she doesn't like it. She's like, oh, this is kind of awkward.
Cooties.
And she, and that, like, at one point, like, while she has the shits, she's, like, glomming onto Geralt. She's like, please, we have to talk. And Geralt's like, Ciri, get out. And Ciri's like, ugh. It's just like a little moment.
It's so true. There's this one part, guys, where Geralt is talking with Triss, and Triss is like, oh, and he's like, okay, and he picks her up and takes her into the woods, so you can presume that she has to shit herself. And so he comes back, but before he comes back, the dwarves are like, who would do that but for a woman they love?
And like Geralt is just like,
I'm just a good dude. I don't mind helping someone not shit themselves.
That's really funny.
And also, like, there's a sweet moment where, like, Ciri and, like, is just, like, chilling with, like, a Yarpen, and she's like, hey, I like you. And he's like, I like you too, kid. And it's just, like, there's just a lot of, like,
oh my God.
Sweet little moments.
Loved it.
One thing I will say is I can see why in the TV show that we won't talk about, they did change Triss to Yennefer during this part.
I see why, too.
Part before, because it is weird, because for the first half of this book, I'm like, like how much
Ciri
and Triss are fraternizing.
I really like it in the book. I think it's interesting that we get this, and it makes the Yennefer Ciri chapter later all the sweeter. I think
now that I've read the book, I feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys. I have this thing where sometimes one of my eyes will just start tearing up, and because I'm not going to cut this later, you guys are going to all see me just dealing with one of my eyes
nice.
tearing up a bunch.
Anyway, so Ciri tucked the little flower back at the elven ruins and everything, and they go back to the caravans, and the Scoia'tael are attacking the caravans. And Ciri is trying to, like, fight, but she's still a little clumsy because she's never been in a real fight before. And, like, you know, like, she just sort of ends up on the ground. And it all leads up to eventually, like, there's, like, an elf is about to attack her, and, like, the little flower sort of, like, spills out, and she, like, looks at the flower, and she, like, says the name of, I forget if it was the leader. I don't remember if it was, like, a god to them or just, like, a leader. Doesn't matter.
A figure.
Yeah, and she says the name, and it gives Geralt a chance to, like, come in and, like, kill her and save Ciri. And Ciri's like, Geralt, you weren't neutral, and he's like, no, I wasn't. So
I'll never be neutral. Kind of a vibe.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where this arc kind of ends.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, what happens is they find out that actually this wagon didn't have anything important in it. It was just being used to test the loyalty of the dwarves. And
Which
one
is
of the dwarves,
such a slap in the face.
Yeah.
one of the dwarves died defending it. And so you're left with this very kind of unsettled, like mad but unrealized emotion. And it's nice. It's messy.
It is. The thing I mentioned earlier about how what was the character's name? The one dwarf Yarnzeal.
Yarp and Zegrin.
Yarp and Zegrin, thank you. I just couldn't actually remember it off the top of my head, so I was like really relying on you to say it and pronounce it.
Coming in clutch.
But that being said, so what I said before about him and his beliefs and his connection to humanity, when this is found out and he realizes the truth of the matter, you really do have this sense of a breaking of trust between races. And it's like, wow, we could have come together like we were trying to do from our end, at least in this particular instance. And it's, like I said, a slap in the face. And from there, I presumed that Jörgen Zegrin would no longer use his own affairs in the affairs of supporting humans.
We'll see, though. I'm sure he comes back, right?
Who? Yarp and Zegrin? Honestly, don't remember off the top of my head. Probably. Actually, yes.
I like him. Is he
I'm
the dwarf
I'm
buddy?
I'm so racist. I'm getting my dwarves mixed up. Oh my god.
No.
I was gonna say, doesn't Geralt have a dwarf buddy at least in the game? So
Yeah,
he had one in the books, but I might be wrong.
Zevra.
I don't.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so that's the end of chunk 2. The next chunk is
Geralt's on a boat.
Geralt's on a boat. Yeah. Geralt's on a boat action scene.
Zoltan, thank you, Chris.
You know what it is? It's Geralt's on a boat / dandelions at college.
Yes.
Well, actually, those are two separate chunks. They're just
yeah. So,
but basically, Geralt's on a boat. There's a professor who's like this kind of monster.
First, if you don't mind, Geralt has 2 letters. One of them is from Ciri.
Oh, this
it's
is great.
Very cute. She's like, I'm at Nennika's temple. I'm learning all these things. Mother Nennika says this and this and this. She is making me
It's very adorable.
It's adorable. She like just rambles on and on. She's like, come visit me, please. You have to come. You said you'd come visit me. I'm very good at all these things. Mother Nennika says this, and Mother Nennika says to say prayer is good actually, and it never hurt anyone. It's just an adorable little letter. And then you get the absolutely iconic dear friend letter from Yennefer.
It's so funny.
It is actually genuinely very funny. The passive
Are you going to do a dramatic reading?
I simply must find it.
If you have it, okay, cool. Let me just preamble it with this. The passive aggressive nature, I feel like fully encapsulates Yennefer's character in this particular moment. And I also think that he fully deserves it. He meaning Geralt. So that being said,
he's just a lump emotionally. He doesn't know what's going on. He tried to be polite.
That's an excuse. He did.
No,
he did.
He's just trying to do what he does. He seems suave and Henry Cavill, but he's not. You know what I mean? Again, that's the thing about him is he's not a Henry Cavill.
And the great thing is, like, after this letter, which I will do a dramatic reading of if you don't mind, he's just like,
at all.
oh, I'm such a fucking idiot. Like, he's just like, oh, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, he does actually 3 times say, like, it says, and then Geralt cursed to himself several times about how much of an idiot he was, or something to that effect.
It's really funny. All right, go.
So contextually, just know that Geralt wrote a letter to Yennefer, as he said he would, asking for help with Ciri, and he thought long and hard about how to address her, and he decided to call her dear friend in the intro. So here's Yennefer's response. Dear friend, your unexpected letter, which I received not quite 3 years after we last saw each other, has given me much joy. My joy is all the greater, as various rumors have been circulating about your sudden and violent death. It is a good thing that you have decided to disclaim them by writing to me. It is a good thing that you are doing so well, or that you are doing so soon. From your letter, it appears that you have lived a peaceful, wonderfully boring life, devoid of all sensation. These days, such a life is a real privilege, dear friend, and I am happy that you have managed to achieve it. I was touched by the sudden concern which you deigned to show as to my health, dear friend. I hasten with the news that yes, I now feel well. The period of indisposition is behind me. I have dealt with the difficulties, the description of which I shall not bore you with. It worries and troubles me very much that the unexpected present you received from the fate brings you worries. Your supposition that this requires professional help is absolutely correct, although your description of the difficulty, quite understandably, is enigmatic. I am sure I know the source of the problem, and I agree with your opinion that the help of yet another magician is absolutely necessary. I feel honored to be the second to whom you turn. What have I done to deserve to be so high on your list? Rest assured, my dear friend, and if you have the intention of supplicating the help of additional magicians, abandon it, because there is no need. I leave without delay, and go to the place which you indicated in an oblique, yet to me, understandable way. It goes without saying that I leave in absolute secrecy and with great caution. I will surmise the nature of the trouble on the spot, and will do all that is in my power to calm the gushing source. I shall try, in so doing, not to appear any worse than the other ladies to whom you have turned, are turning to, or usually turn to, with your supplications. I am, after all, your dear friend. Your value of friendship is important to me, too important to me to disappoint you, dear friend. Should you, in the next few years, wish to write to me, do not hesitate for a moment. Your letters invariably give me boundless pleasure. Your friend, Yennefer.
It's so funny.
Can we just say I feel like he really understands humor, and again, in a theatrical way, because the increasing repetition of your friend, but towards the ending, really starts to create the exclamation point of the passive aggressive nature of it, and it makes it really funny. And then, of course, all the genuine bits that you get from her, like where I am going to be secret. I am going to help her. I am going to do what you ask. And at the end, I do want to hear from you. Please send me more messages. I love you.
There's a sincerity behind like the snark.
But it's so like you can just imagine her writing it out.
Yeah, and the audiobook narrator reads it so well. Peter Kenny coming through is so good.
It's really funny. It's so great, and we will meet Yennefer by the end of the book, thankfully.
Mm-hmm. So Geralt's reading these letters on the boat, and then you can introduce us to our
boat. It isn't really important.
It's not that important.
Basically, there's some guy who's looking to get him and Ciri. They try to get him. They can't. One of them gets eaten by a fish monster, and he's like, "Oh, this plan didn't work out." That's basically
the coolest thing about this scene is the difference between the scientific approach I mentioned earlier of one very side character that will never come about again, and Geralt being like, I'm the conservaticist, like I said before, who has been in the field. You haven't been in the field.
Conservaticist?
Yeah, I know. I had to burp. I'm sorry. Okay. I was rushing my words. The point being though is that, and I'm also stuffed.
Yeah, you.
In my nose.
Oh my god.
I know. She's so dumb.
You set me up, you son of a bitch.
The point is that this is actually really cool. I think this author does a really good job of throwing in these worldly applicable conundrums between different professions and such, and it's so funny. And in this particular sense, you can't help but also vibe with Geralt because he's correct. He knows the historical. The thing is this character that we're given, and I'm not going to linger on it because I know it's not important, but the point is the character thinks he knows everything, and Geralt does know more. So it's just one of those situations.
It's a great example of just how even though the scene might not seem that important in the grander plot, it's just so interesting to read because this conversation between Geralt and this college guy who pretends to sort of care about conservation but really just wants to make a big discovery about this new species. It's very interesting to listen to, even though explaining it sounds boring.
Well, and even this whole part is it's fun to read. There's an action scene. There's some political intrigue. There's this whole thing of they're like, well, no, we arrest him and now you need to show us your pay. It's fine. It's all fun to read. It's just there's nothing really for us to comment on as much if we're choosing things in the book to go through.
The most important thing is that some supposed Temerian guards get on board and are, after Geralt, they essentially
They want to
sees
know where
him.
Ciri is.
They want to know where Ciri is. They're like hired by Rience, essentially, like thugs, which we learn later. That's pretty much the most important thing that comes out of this. We know people are looking for Geralt. People are looking for Ciri.
Yeah,
And Geralt rips up both letters before they get on board and tosses them into the water. So no evidence. Yeah.
Love
then
that.
we go to.
Do you mind if I just mention this one last thing? I just want to say the fact, again, what a lovely characterizing moment. It's mentioned that he's reread Ciri's letter like a few times, and he's reread Yen's letter
like
at
30
least 30 times. Yeah, it says like 30 times, and yet he's like, to keep them safe, and then he rips them up and throws them away. And it's just like that in and of itself, even though we never get no internal dialogue from Geralt, shows so much of his character that you can't help but be endeared by him.
Yeah, this is like one of the few actual Geralt POV moments that we have in the book. He's not like, we're not in his POV that much. But after this, we switch to Dandelion, or I'm going to switch between them. Don't worry about it. And he's walking through Oxenfurt. I believe it is Oxenfurt, right?
It's basically Oxford.
Oxenfurt.
But it's like slightly different.
And he used to be a college boy here. He studied the craft of poetry. It's a very fun description of like a little college town kind of. And he's like, this is my old stomping ground. But he knows he's being followed by two spies. And so like he goes onto campus and he finds a medical student who is like a friend of his. Her name is Shawnee. She is in the Witcher 3 DLC. If you remember.
I don't know why, but I imagined her as black. I have no idea why.
Interesting. But she had like bright red hair.
That's how my... yeah.
Right.
So... Like, is this another Sydney Sweeney moment?
Oh my God.
The point being, though, is I actually didn't picture her one way or the other. I just the closest thing I pictured her to was yet again another Dragon Age. I don't know what's with Dragon Age in this, but the one freckled chick, Scout Harding.
Sarah,
it was not Scout Harding. The one that's in the third one, the Inquisition, where she's
Sarah?
in the is that her name?
Or Red Jenny's?
No.
What are you talking about? Harding.
No, it's not Harding. It's the one that experiments on things and gives you the experimented pieces in Inquisition behind the waterfall.
Doesn't matter. We won't linger on it.
Doesn't matter.
Moving on. Anyway, so Dandelion asks for help from her, and she's like, "Yeah, okay, that's cool. I'll do this. I'll go find the Witcher for you." And basically, then Dandelion gets taken in by like the campus
Dijkstra.
security.
Or no, that's not campus security. Dijkstra?
It's the spies. The
He's
spies
a spy.
that are actually
he's like
following him.
He's a whole ass like political spy.
I know, but I
Correct.
thought of him as campus security.
I don't
not
think
at
it's
all.
on campus.
Not at
The whole
the
thing
point
is on
is, though, is the spies come to him. They're like, "Yo, you're supposed to be spying," and he's like, "Yeah, but I'm not." And they're like, "Well, you better." And that's the long of it.
And they're like, "Well,
Philippa
where's
Eilhart is
Witcher?"
there for the fans. Philippa is working with Dijkstra. It's told to us. It's funny because it is told to us through Dandelion's perspective that Dijkstra is incredibly smart. He doesn't look like a spy master. He's just like a whale of a man. Like he just looks like an idiot, kind of like a beefy but he's like a really sharp
Pink synthetic is correct. Dagna. Anyway, continue.
Oh, there you go. Oh yeah, I do. But
Okay.
yeah. So
Shut up, Will.
but they both want to talk to Geralt. They want to know where Ciri is too. And Dandelion is like, I don't know where Geralt is, man. He's not here. I've never seen him. And we learn very quickly that Dandelion very much knows where Geralt is. He's like hiding him in the city right now. But Dijkstra sees right through him. He knows that, and they leave the this sort of like kind of feudal back and forth with like hey, you're not going to send any more spies after me, are you? And Dijkstra's like, haha, nope. And like he's like, you believe me, right? And Tendel's like, yeah. And both of the like dialogue tags are he lied and he lied. So like they both know that like they're going to be watching each other.
Isn't that such a nice way of the author honestly just telling you something without like shoving it down your throat? Like
there's a time and place for telling, and this author does it really well.
Yeah, and so it's like he lied. And the thing is like the characters aren't reading those dialogue tags, so they don't know each other are lying, but you know that they're lying to each other, and you know that they know that they're lying to each other through the prose, through the exposition. And it's one of the few things that I can say, or not one of the few things, maybe I should say actually the reverse. It's one of the big things I think a lot of people screw up in the more modern novels that we read, especially in romantasy, of course, but...
Can I just read this very brief quote from Dijkstra describing Dandelion? I think that's really funny. Dandelion, said Dijkstra sleepily, crossing over to the whale. You thick-headed halfwit, you unmitigated dunce. Do you have to spoil everything you touch? Couldn't you just for once in your life do something right? I know you can't think for yourself. I know you're almost 40, look almost 30, and that you're just... think you're just over 20 and act as though you're barely 10. And being aware of this, I usually furnish you with precise instructions. I tell you what you have to do, when you have to do it, and how you're to go about it. And I regularly get the impression that I'm talking to a stone wall. It's just like a very funny, like biting little description of Dandelion that I thought was amusing.
It's great. That's the kind of like low-key humor he has in the books that kind of keep things bouncing around. And then basically after this, Dandelion kind of escapes some more spies who are following him and goes to see Geralt, who's hanging out, and he's like, Geralt, why is
having sex
the
with
door?
He like knocks on the window and Geralt's like, don't come in. And he's like, what, are you a betting woman already? And he's like, oops, you are.
God, it's the Shawnee from earlier.
God, 5 seconds. Like, we really do gloss over that indiscretion, but can we just pause over it for a brief moment and be
I really do think that Shawnee was just like, oh, Richard, that's how fascinating. I want to see what's going on here.
You also realize that the age of consent is different in Poland.
Say no to a lady.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, that's how Geralt seems about it, is he seems almost a little confuddled. Like, oh, I don't usually do this. How did that happen?
I feel like he's definitely someone who doesn't equate sex with love.
Well, no, he's European. So then what happens is that they decide to go to, who are they looking for?
Okay.
They're trying to find Rience, so like...
I know the thing with the gatehouse happens next, which is fun.
Yes, but what happens is the one spy lady person...
Well, Shawnee says, by any chance does Rience have like a burn on half of his face? And they're like, yeah. She's like, oh, I know that guy. I can take you there. And they're like, sick. Okay.
I guess, yeah, that's fair. We could really skip over the owl lady. She's not really
Philippa
that
shows up.
Yeah.
And like, obviously having been following them.
Spying on Dandelion. And so when he comes in, or when she comes in, she's like, I'll help you out. And it doesn't matter, though. She's really negligible in the plot / things that are happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's not super important. And so, yeah, they find the guy, and like, Geralt, and this guy had recruited some like super cool mercenaries to take out Geralt, but Geralt just like he takes an elixir.
He can like murders them. He murders them.
Yeah, and then he butchers them real bad. And this is a moment when it's like, yeah, he don't fuck with witchers. Like Geralt seems pretty easygoing, but he's a killing machine when he needs to be.
This does technically happen later in the book, but it's fine to go on it now because it does happen when like Ciri has a vision of it happening, and then we cut to it. But
correct.
It doesn't really matter what order.
Yeah, that's true.
There are placement jumps during this time, like Val mentioned. We get jumped a little bit to Ciri and so on and so forth. But the point being, though, is that this is the way things end up turning out, and the author's ability to jump between scenes and characters is very effective, and it is very fun.
The chapter 6 is where we get like all the politicking stuff, where Queen Mev and
that's the part I
Vizimir.
mentioned.
And essentially, they're just arguing about all of these political parties are arguing what they should do about Nilfgaard, like how to best like manage this. It's very
long.
It is up to a certain degree, and like there's a lot of names that like come up, like even like a Nilfgaard, I think, who was like one of the like the dumb king in the Golden Dragon quest also.
Correct.
Is here with opinions. Also, the guy who slept with his sister in The Last Wish is also here. It's fun. Like, he clearly has a lot of thought. Like, he knows the political players, and like they're here again too.
Basically, the problem is that Nilfgaard got stopped, but like now they're raising discontents throughout the land, and that's
like,
how the
should we kill all the
tales.
elves? What should we do? Should
the
we
big
find
problem
Ciri?
is-
Should we marry Ciri off? Should we kill
Everyone's
Ciri?
like, but maybe we should marry Ciri. No, we should marry Ciri. Like, it very quickly devolves into like,
who's
like
going to
petty
marry
politics.
Ciri if we find her?
You know what I actually found to be the most interesting in this conversation is the concept of how more popular economics can really persuade people to be on your side. So it's funny, it's because as we're listening, or as I'm listening to this, right, or slash you're reading this, you go through this like thought process where you're like, oh, the Nilfgaardians have more favorable economics to the general layman or blue collar worker, as you may, and it's like, do we support these leaders, or do we like? Are they really just like they're crushing people under the heel of their foot?
I think what you have to realize is that this is where the Nilfgaardians are Soviets. Like, that's very clearly, this is written from a Polish perspective about the Soviet Union. Like, that's, and because you're not really given enough reason to know in the book if they're actually going to do this or not. Like, I mean, last book, they were literally destroying everything in their path in a way that was very atypical. So I think the easiest way to read it is like, oh, they're the Soviet. They're the
and there's some discussion about will Emir Varemris marry Ciri. He's the king of Nilfgaard. But then, like, no, why would he marry Ciri? He already has control of Sintra. That would just be putting like
because culturally he'd be more fitting in.
And then essentially they come to the conclusion, if we find Ciri, we just have to kill her. She's just going to cause more problems. Like, that's sort of the end.
Which is such a dumb fucking conclusion to come to, in my opinion, but whatever.
It makes sense.
I mean, I guess.
Chris says like, the Nilfgaardians are economically conquering them because they're industrialized compared to Britannia.
Yes, correct.
That was the other thing that was interesting that was mentioned a couple times.
That's what I was meaning. Like, that concept that they are more established or more developed in some way that they aren't, and they're just modernizing it. Like, and that's why it's more favorable. It's because you can make money better, or you can whatever. Those parts, despite the fact that you would imagine them to be dry, are actually quite fruitful in these discussions, and it's very fun to listen to.
I liked this whole discussion. I'm not gonna lie. I could have listened to another.
It was interesting, yeah.
It was.
I liked it. Because, I mean, he also just has a very good sense of, like, it doesn't necessarily feel as info dumpy as it could, because everybody has their own motive in this. So they're all kind of active agents arguing. So there is more than just someone telling you a thing. It's people arguing about a thing and
it's
trying
always
to position
interesting
themselves.
seeing who he chooses to be the perspective character. Because Queen Mev, I believe, was the perspective character in this. So we're getting it all through. And we don't know that much about her character, but we learn a tiny bit about her just by seeing the political machinations, like, through her head
and what
a
she
little
chooses
bit.
to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, they decide they got to kill Ciri. And you're like, okay, that was drastic. Then we cut to Ciri and figure out what she's been doing.
Sorry, I have notes, unfortunately. We cut to Emir Varemris addressing his men. This is a quick one. And this might actually be where we hear the line, like the stars reflected in the water, because no, it was Vilgefortz.
We hear it
that's
at the
later.
end.
That's later in the Sorcerer's talk. This is Emir Varemris addressing his men. We see him addressing the Black Knight from Ciri's nightmares with the bird of prey on his head, and it's clear that this knight has been in prison. He's in trouble for something, and we don't fully get the context of what it's about. We'll find out.
Have to find out.
Well, I'm guessing based off the show, because I don't remember what happens in the show, but they show you what happens.
I remember the Nilfgaardians had the dumbest armor in the show. That's all I really remember about Okay, so it's interesting because you can tell he's not just doing evil empire; he's doing refined evil empire. So they're like, oh, we have to kill them and make a. They're like, we have to kill him brutally and make a point of it. And the guy's like, ugh, I don't want to have to see that. And the general's like, but you have to go see it, but I don't have. Like, it's made a point that they're a little bit more refined evil empire. They're not quite as cackling as you would think. Which, I'm making fun of it, but it is nice to see a little more depth.
And we'll briefly go over this. We get the sorcerer's political discussion about the same topic, essentially. It's like what are we going to do? We're in Tessai de Vries' perspective, I believe. They're talking to Vilgefortz. Again, the same thing, like
People.
Elder Blood stuff, Yennefer. What are my notes? Let's see.
Have we explained the Elder Blood thing?
No,
think
not
so.
really.
Basically, there's a prophecy that Val will say about the evil blood.
I'm going to be honest, I couldn't tell you right now.
Long story short, there is a prophecy that there's a white flame that will come about to baptize the world in a new era. They don't use the word baptize. I'm using the word baptize. But it's supposed to baptize the world into a new era of regrowth and rebirth. And so some people are for it. Some people are against it. Some people, like like our Witcher friends, are like, I'm just here for the ride. So, but the point is Ciri is definitely having something to do with that white flame bit. And so that is why she is the center of so much chaos.
Yes. And the Elder Blood, you're like, okay, that's Ciri, because she has some elf blood.
Correct. Hence
So
the Blood of Elves.
yeah, and what we mostly get from this meeting with people, one, I have to say, really interesting, just sort of like fact, is that Lydia, one of the sorceresses here, her like whole lower jaw is
that
fucked
one.
up. So every time she talks, it's in people's heads, and the mouth moving is an illusion. I just thought that was a really fascinating.
Specifically, she has a spell so that people don't look at the bottom half of her face. So it's not even that it looks
Yeah.
normal, just nobody thinks about it, which I thought was
Yeah.
cool.
The only way that our perspective character knows that this character is smiling is that she can see it in her eyes that she's smiling. And that's when you learn about the background of how her face was demolished in the Sodden Hill.
Yeah. Just a more like tiny little tidbits of how utterly traumatizing.
I don't think it was
this
Sodden
for
Hill,
people.
was it? I thought it was an experiment.
Perhaps it was the experiment.
Yeah, they mentioned-
but there was
Okay,
something.
Right.
Sorry. So we learned Vilgefortz really wants to know where Yennefer is. He's like, where the fuck is Yennefer? We lodge this information away. Tisea says Geralt is alive, and Vilgefortz has like a little letter in his hand, and he seems to think like not for long. There's an insinuation that he seems to think Geralt is not dead or not long for this world. That's what I wrote in my notes.
Yeah, that's about right. And then
Chris M does say it was from the experiment. So
Thank you.
yeah,
I'm
so
Maria
experiment. But point is really cool little tidbits like that get thrown at you from time to time, and it makes the world so much more colorful.
And
Yeah.
now we start on the last chunk of the book, which is the best chunk, which is
would
Yennefer and Ciri.
Yes.
Basically, Ciri's been at this place, the Nenefort.
The temple for
The
Neneka. Yeah.
Neneka's temple. Yeah.
And it's
Or
interesting the way
Melitola's
this is.
temple.
It's interesting how this is set up, because by this point in the book, I was like, okay, we're going to catch up with Ciri real quick, and then Geralt is going to show up, and we're going to have the final battle, and then the book will be done.
No.
And that is not what happens, because what we end up just getting is Ciri and what's happening with her and how her and Yennefer have bonded. And it starts with, like, her and Yennefer already being cool, and then it flashbacks to how they
Which
got
is
to that.
such a good way of telling the fucking story. Can we just agree that alternative timeline, or abnormal chronological telling of tales can be so wonderful as long as you know what you're doing and why you're doing it and where you decide to place that interlude?
I think that it works
Yes,
here.
thank you for agreeing. I appreciate that.
I don't think it always works, and again, I'm not really sure quite why this book, the plot
I
structure
can
works
tell
so
you
well
why.
when
Well, it's not like it's
so-
trying to trick you. It's just like it shows you, and you learn very
Yeah.
quickly. Oh, we're getting to how we got here. Like,
Yeah, I think
could
the thing
tell
is
you
in a more,
structurally.
I think in a more normal standard book, you would have had Triss replaced with Yennefer, and then you wouldn't have one of the main relationships of the novel happen right at the end. But I think it kind of works because, like, you've been up and down with Ciri emotionally this whole time, and because of the attachment you already had to Yennefer from the previous books, there's something very satisfying about seeing the two of them bond. And you know, the book ends on this, like, very ominous line of, like, they're riding off from Nenefort, and Ciri's like, oh, she hoped she would go there again when she was older. And the book's like,
Little
and
did she know she
didn't.
never
Yeah.
would.
Yeah.
Or some shit like that.
And you're like, oh shit, we started right before the book, like the next big battle is gonna happen. Like, you know what I mean? It has that kind of feeling, like
Yeah.
storm clouds on the horizon. Sorry,
I
guys,
could
one of my
say,
eyes is tearing up
but
yet
what I
again.
wanted to say. Oh wait, sorry, I interrupted you. What'd you say?
No, I'm just saying one of my eyes is randomly tearing up. So
Oh, what
I'm
I
not
wanted to
crying.
say is
Oh man,
structurally
I'm not crying.
structurally why it works is because first of all, you're given really interesting information about Ciri. You know that, so we begin with her relationships with her peers. It's not going so well at the moment, but you know that it's for a good reason. So her peers are teasing her slash challenging her because she's been working with a witch, a magician, a sorceress, and yet she has no magic to show for it. But she says that, you know, you don't. It's not a parlor trick. It's something serious. And so, you know, so that in and of itself is already the preamble to a really satisfying fulfillment of like knowing that Ciri later on can actually do magic at this point. We jump a little bit. We get her climbing a tower to this boy, but the boy can teach her a little bit about geography, which is pertinent to both plot building as well as for her, the character
So
building.
funny.
Do you want to add to
It's
that real quick,
such
Val?
a funny little
Yeah.
scene because like you can tell the boy's a bit enamored with Ciri
Yeah.
and like he's having a little fun with it. And like she's like flipping through his geography. Looks like, oh, what's this? What's this place? What's this place? And like she flips to a page and like a porno falls out. It's
Medieval porno style falls out, and she's like,
She's like,
"Ew."
What direction are you supposed to be fucking
she like
from?
she's
Like,
like
is the way she's
teasing him
looking at
about
it.
it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The
It's
Kama
really
Sutra
cute.
style.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, like that happened. She goes back to Yennefer because she's being called for, like via telekinesis or whatever that. What is it? It's like psychic or whatever. Not telekinesis.
Telepathy?
But anyway, she shows up. She gets into a bath, and so you're like, oh, so they're really comfortable with each other. Like they're really close. And so at first you're like, oh, this is interesting. What an interesting development. And then they go into a series of flashbacks. But those series of flashbacks with the framework, again, I feel like this is such short story style writing because the frame of the story is her being in this room in the bath after the bath being questioned by Yennefer and her remembering because Yennefer says, yeah, didn't you hate me when you first met me? And she's like, did I hate you when you first met me? And she's like, yes. And then you go back into the when they first met and you get Yennefer's like, which is really fun especially if you love Yennefer. It's really fun to see Yennefer's persona from the perspective of Ciri, Ciri's character. She's really impressive. She's very sexy. She's very like different from many other characters. And then you get their development slowly but surely, and the endearments that they start building between each other. And so like having that go from the normal, like from the beginning, so having the story told from that to that, but with the framework of them already establishing it, makes it in a weird way easier for this to feel like it's all caught up. We're in the moment, but we're having these things. It just feels like it fits the story appropriately, considering that we're about to get into, as Will said, or whatever, the next big battle or whatever.
So I actually, I hadn't meant that part happens. I was talking more specifically about the structure of the novel and how that is kind of off.
Oh, as a whole, I see.
But yes, no, Katie is correct. It does form like a nice little short story framing.
Can
You
I
wanted to say
read a
something.
little like conversation when Yennefer is first meets Ciri and is unpacking her bags
It
and
is great. I
setting
love how
up
bitchy
It's
she
great.
is.
So Yennefer says, laying down the rules essentially, I will demand absolute sincerity. You will not be allowed to hide anything from me, anything. So if you feel you've had enough, it will suffice for you to lie, pretend, or
Love
feign,
this part.
or close in on yourself. I ask you something, and you do not answer sincerely. That will also indicate an instant end to our lessons. Have you understood? Yes, muttered Ciri. And that sincerity, does it work both ways? Will I be able to ask you questions? Yennefer looked at her, and her lips twisted strangely. Of course, she answered after a while. That goes without saying. That will be the basis of the learning and protection I aim to give you. Sincerity works both ways. You are to ask me questions at any time, and I will answer. Sincerely. Any question? Any question. As of now? Yes, as of now. What is there between you and Geralt, Lady Yennefer? Ciri almost fainted, horrified at her own impertinence, chilled by the silence which followed the question. The enchantress slowly approached her, placed her hands on her shoulders, and looked her in the eyes, up close and deeply. Longing, she answered gravely. Regret, hope, and fear. Yes, I don't think I have omitted anything. Well, Now we can get on with the tests, you little green-eyed viper. We will see if you're cut out for this. It's so
Real
cute.
quick, can we pause on her? Yes, I don't think I've left anything out. Isn't this such a, what, that dialogue is so specific. Who would say that but somebody who has just felt as if they have been tested by life and has yet turned true to being like, she got an A on her honesty in that moment in life. And you can really feel the genuine nature of that, of her being like confirming with herself, yes, I think I've been honest with you. And that is so good. That is so damn good.
This is why like Yennefer is like a motherhood, like need to be a mother. It's because she wants to give a kid this love that she never got, and she's trying so hard in this moment to give this. And like it's I love that she calls Ciri ugly one. Like it's just like it's such like a
so funny.
It's
And
so
Ciri's like,
funny.
why? And she's like, I said I'd be truthful.
So
And later there's a sweet moment about it too. But like Yennefer is just
She's a
It's
diva.
great because it's so great because they start bitchy with each other, and like it's not like Yennefer's rough edges are like are sanded
they're not sanded
down.
off immediately.
Even once they're
yeah.
getting along later, she's still
a bitch.
She's still a bitch. Yeah, she's she's affectionate, but she's
but an
still a
endearing
bitch.
one.
And it's something where it's really cute to see them get closer together, and there's an extent to which Ciri like really appreciates that Yennefer takes her seriously and like treats her.
She sees herself in her.
I think maybe, but I think also it's, you know, Yennefer or Ciri has not had necessarily a ton of choices in life, and so she really appreciates someone
That's
who
that
gives
part.
her
That
like
she sees of herself.
And Yennefer is like the first. She mentions later that Ciri does that she felt like, okay, when I joined the Witchers, I sort of was leaving behind the Sintra part of my life. Like that was like there was like a divide there, and that she knows that Yennefer is safe and she's allowed to talk to her. That Yennefer is deeply curious about that part, and she's like, this is a person I'm allowed to trust and talk to about it, and
Like a
doesn't
mother.
want to erase this part of me. And she's still very anxious to talk, like anxious about it. Like there's fear there because bad memories, but like it's just really sweet, like that Yennefer is able to like bring this other side of Ciri out.
yeah, she's able to do that in a protective way. Chris M said,
Yeah, I was gonna
there's
mention
one
that.
eyebrow-raising moment when Ninek tells Yen to
Nenneke.
stop being
Nenneke.
so bitchy because Ciri isn't her rival. Bruh. Ciri is 13. I don't know why Yen thought Geralt would be
It's
into
not
that.
about, yeah, I didn't read it as that. It's just like any other stepmom that comes into the picture, or non-birth mother, and sometimes even a birth mother, especially when the baby is first born. And it's something so that really hit me, because one of the biggest reasons I haven't had a child with my husband yet is because I don't want to share his attentions. And it's a very selfish thing for me. I mean, that's about like half the reason. The other half is shared by like responsibility and ability to provide like literally via money. So like, you know, there's that. But a big part of it is sharing the attention of somebody I love, especially coming like, and I'm thinking this in regards to Yennefer specifically, coming from somebody who has trauma from their childhood where there is a lack of love and a lack of support, right? When you've experienced that as a child, whether through child abuse or whether being sold off to magic users, the point being is that when you finally find that as an adult, you don't want to give that shit up. You don't want to give up the soul attention because you didn't receive any of that natural, healthy attention when you're a child. So I feel like Will said before, I think it was Will that said it, was that this is like he does a very good job of realistically portraying relationships that happen in real life. Or both of you both honestly said it at some point. But the point being is like, when that happened, I felt it. I understood it. I got it. And so being told that by somebody who's not only older than you, because Nenneke is, well, I don't know if she's older than her technically, but a matronly person, right? Telling you this, it's a slap in the face because it's being said, dude, you're not being mature. You're not being a woman in this moment. Come on, let's look at it with real eyes and be here for the child.
I also think there's just like a greater just misunderstanding between Yennefer and
Correct.
Nenneke in general. I think they were just sort of like snipping with. They didn't quite
agreed.
get along, and like she was like, "You're like Nenneke was like, stop, like you're abusing this child." Yennefer's like, "No, I'm not." Like there's an misunderstanding there. Yennefer was obviously pissy about Triss being the first one that was called. I think there's like layers to the
Yes. Agreed.
But
Yeah, to that moment. And so, yeah, what happens is there's kind of like a montage again with just dialogue, kind of like there was earlier in the book with the two of them. And again, it's very cute. It's very cool to see them kind of challenge each other a little bit. And Ciri is going to become like a mage. And there's stuff with Yennefer kind of like leading her down this path that like she's not, or not path, but to explore these memories she's not entirely comfortable with, like we were talking about. And by the end of it, they're buddies. And again, Yen has like kind of, they understand that they both care about Geralt, but it's not like they're competing for the spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I've got another bit I kind of want to read if you guys.
Chris M says she says that Ciri is lucky to be convinced that Geralt hasn't found a prettier girl and have forgotten about her.
That's right there. When she says that, not
I loved
it. But
I love that her jealousy just sort of like creeps in every now.
Yeah,
it's so good.
But Val, as you were saying,
so Ciri, once she gets a little more comfortable with Yennefer, it starts just sort of like, talking about her past a little bit more. And she tells Yennefer the story of how she and Geralt met in Brooklyn Forest when she was a little kid. And she's like, the narration tells you, like, she kind of hams it up for drama a little bit. And Yennefer was like listening and having a good time. And here's the... One evening, of her own initiative, unasked, casually, joyfully, and embellishing a great deal, she told the enchantress about her first meeting with the Witcher in Brooklyn Forest, amongst the Dryads who had abducted her and wanted to force her to stay and become one of them. "Oh," said Yennefer, listening to the story. "I'd given a lot of thought to that. Or I'd give a lot to see that. Geralt, I mean. I'm trying to imagine the expression on his face in Brooklyn when he saw what sort of surprise destiny had concocted for him. But he must have had a wonderful expression when he found out who you were." Ciri giggled, and her emerald eyes lit up devilishly. "Oh yes," she snorted. "What an expression. Do you want to see? I'll show it to you. Look at me." Yennefer burst out laughing. Like, Yennefer doesn't laugh. Yennefer doesn't burst out laughing easily. And I think not like a few pages earlier, she was like
I don't laugh
sorceresses rarely laugh. But like this, like I can just see her, like Ciri making like a goofy, like, face, and Yennefer imagining that on Geralt. It's just so sweet.
Yeah, and it feels organic to who they are, because again, they do not like each other at first, and they do not get along, and slowly it kind of happens. And again, I really liked it. I think it's a really good example of it. And then the book ends with them being like, "Oh, we got to go now. War is on the horizon." And again, she thinks she's going to come back to this village, and the book tells you she's not. And you're like, "Ooh, storm clouds." And the book ends, and you're like, "Wait, I thought there was going to be a battle at the end." And
no, that's not the structure of his stories, obviously.
well, I mean, I think the thing to, again, understand about this book is this is almost more like linked short stories, but linked more closely than they were last time. Even because the last ones were done pretty sequentially.
I could picture each of these being in their own novella form.
They definitely have like arcs. There are solid arcs within like.
It's episodic, I think.
Episodic is that's the right word. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I run a podcast. Overall, though, again, I really enjoyed listening to this. This was fun. It went fast at the same time that like
loved it.
It was enjoyable. I still really want to see, and it leaves you wanting more. Again, this is a kind of prologue book where you're like, oh, okay, I want to see what happens next. Not like we spent a whole 12 hours setting up the main conflict of the series. No.
Listening to this did two things. First, when it began, I was like, oh, thank God. A comfort zone. Because let me tell you, I've not had a good 2 weeks. It's been really rough at my job. And just getting in the car / having my headphones on / whatever and going back into this world has been like sinking into a hot tub for me, or going into a really cute cabin. And then also in combination with that, like, it makes me want to play the video games all over again. Like, I don't know that the video games would necessarily 100% capture the essence of the novels. In fact, it definitely doesn't. In some ways,
I think it does a pretty good job in a lot of ways, though. Certainly better than the TV show. It makes
me want to play the video game so bad. And you know what I realize is that we don't own it. / I don't think it's on PS5.
I'm curious about playing them now.
I'm sure you can get The Witcher 3 on PS5.
I mean, you can play the PS4 version on PS5, but I have to go buy it for $50 until it's on sale.
You know, you can just stream your computer to the TV.
Well, I own it on the computer. I don't want to play it on my computer. I don't want to play it on my desk. I want to play it on my couch.
That's what I'm saying. You could stream it to your
with
TV.
my surround sound.
You can stream it from your computer to your TV. Anyway,
that's too much.
Yeah, maybe after we finish with this series, we'll do an episode each for each of the games. Series. Yeah, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed this. This was so much fun. I'm really looking forward to reading the next couple. I really want to see what happens when Triss and Yen meet. I've been promised that they have college buddy vibes, which should be interesting. And yeah, I like these characters.
Bye, Chris.
Bye. Thanks for showing
That's
up.
fine. You made it the whole way. We're about to end it. So
I told Chris, even if we don't do this for a mid-month book, because I know most people aren't reading these anymore, maybe we could still just do an extra live stream. I feel like
that's what we did this month.
Oh, okay. This was an extra one?
Yeah,
okay,
this was an extra one.
Yeah.
Our the last week was the mid-month. Yeah, well, this was an extra one. We'll do the next one as an extra one too, because it's I'm not going to edit this, so we will end it here. Thank you all for joining us. Our parasocial darlings.
Bye.